Hi, I'm Amy, and this is Art Conspiracy. Welcome. Today's episode is 10 reasons why you should never copy a photo. And it's dedicated to my sister Rita, we had a great discussion about this topic yesterday, and I felt really moved to put this video out sooner rather than later because it's a topic that I am pretty passionate about. Um, and now more than ever, people are using photographs, particularly on their computer, to do their artwork because we're in lockdown still and people are not able to get out. So it seems like a pressing issue that I want to share with you. Um, I want to be perfectly clear. I am not suggesting that you don't use photographs. I use photographs in my work all the time, and my students use it all the time, and it's absolutely necessary, if not advantageous. Working from photographs is a great resource. We don't know what everything looks like, and a lot of times we go to a photograph to help us. So I'm not saying don't use photographs. I'm saying don't copy the photograph, as in be a slave to the photograph. And there's some pretty good reasons why, and here they are: 10 reasons never to copy the photograph in no particular order. Okay, number one. Okay, have you ever had somebody say or heard somebody say, your artwork is so great, it's so good, it looks just like a photograph? And that's not exactly a compliment. The truth is, what they're saying is it looks real. And maybe that's a compliment, and that's okay. But that assumes that photography is real, that it's the truth. And I say that it is not. Photography is a little slice of truth at best. And we read a lot into the photographs we see, but we trust them, we believe them. I did a commission once. Somebody handed me a photograph of their mom. Their mom was like a quarter-inch big, her head, and they said, here's my mom, here's what she looks like. I couldn't see that, but they could, because we trust photographs. This photograph is lovely, charming. Grandma looking through the window. If you drew this, there's a really good chance that people would not quite understand what they were seeing. So even though we know what we're seeing in the photograph, a drawing doesn't translate the same way. So you have to be careful because we don't always trust it. Okay, now here I am. Nice picture, pretty good, huh? Well, there's a distortion here with the lens. And I'll show you. Literally, I traced it, and here are their proportions as they exist in the photograph. So if I draw this the way it's in the photograph, look what it's going to look like. The middle figure is sort of basic, generic, classic proportions. And which one would you pick? And partly the distortion of the lens. So we can't entirely trust photos to tell us the truth. Okay, so just think about that. Okay, number two, bad lighting. This is another classic case where if you are of a mind to copy the photograph, you will copy all the information, even if it doesn't work, even if it doesn't work for you. This is a lovely photo. Okay, I think this would be fun. I would probably eliminate the car in the back, but this is fun to work with. But look at the blonde. Okay, this is my high school friend Dee. The light on her face is not good. It's not good. And if you weren't questioning the photo and you were just of a mind to copy it, you probably wouldn't. And I did a quick little sketch to show you, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good. So this drawing doesn't look terrible, but the lighting is not good. It's not good. And I'm not doing any favors to my friend Dee. So bad lighting is an issue. And I also want to say, I wish I had lots of examples, bad examples of artwork from photos, but there's copyright issues. And also, I don't want to disparage anyone's work. So I don't want to grab work off the internet or my student work and say, here, this is bad. So you're just going to have to imagine or Google it yourself. Okay, number three, composition and cropping. If we trust the photo, if we want to copy the photo, then we might copy this with that dumb door in the background and the feet off the bottom. And I'm suggesting, no, that's not a good idea. Were I to use this as a source, I would have the feet all the way in the composition. I would do something way more interesting in the background. And I'd probably bring the figures a little closer together so there's less negative space. So what I say is use photographs for raw material and don't copy them. Don't be a slave to them. Okay. So that's pretty important. Okay, number 4, when you copy a photo and you're really copying it to your best of your ability, there's no interpretation. Um, there's no evidence of the hand of the artist. Now, here's a little portrait I did for my portrait class, a demo, and we worked from multiple photographs of, this guy, Einstein. And anyway, I could copy the photograph completely the way that it looks, in the photograph, but it's way more interesting to interpret it, to put in what is essential information, especially when it comes to portraiture, put in the essential information, and then be playful with the background and the shirt or the change of the hair, be the artist, show the artwork. People will give you a lot of credit when you copy a photograph well, because they don't really know any better and they think it looks like it was hard. But I think they'd much rather see your interpretation of the subject rather than just how good you are at copying the photograph. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Okay, 5, and I'm going to stop the share and go back to me for a second. Number 5 has to do with portraiture too, and that is when you work from a photograph, you tend to focus on small details and transfer them back and forth, back and forth. So in the case of portraiture, you'll be drawing that eye, you look at the eye and then you draw the eye and then you're looking at this little bit and you draw this little bit. And often the parts don't add up and you get into real trouble. Whereas if you're working from life or using photographs in a good way, you work generically, you make sure things are lined up, you don't get caught up, seduced by the detail in the photo. So that's another problem, is working part to part. Okay, moving on. Okay, number 6, coming up. Okay, number 6. Working from someone else's art. Basically, I always say it's a good idea to work from a bad photograph because then you have to change it, you have to fix it. But let's assume you find something that you really want to work from, a beautiful photograph. Well, it's already beautiful. We know, what are you going to do? If you're going to copy it, you're basically going to do the same thing that the person who took the photograph did. Composition, lighting, color, framing it. If you copy it, if you don't alter it, if you don't add anything, you're basically in some ways stealing someone else's art. And even if you take the photograph, the artistry is in the taking of the photograph, and your art will just be derivative of that. So I propose that you always make it better, make it more interesting, use it, but enhance it and change it. And that's way more important than just copying it as it is. Okay, number 7. Too much detail. When you have a photograph and you trust it, again, if you're a slave to it, you'll try to put everything in. And let me tell you, that can be a losing battle. There's a lot of information in here. If I were to draw this, I would probably take out that license plate on the left, definitely take out the neck pillow. I would suggest all the bikes in the back. If you're trying to copy this photo, this is really going to be labor intensive and difficult. And again, maybe you can pull it off and people will give you a lot of credit for that. But I say it's way more fun to draw the things that are close up, make them really interesting, and then suggest all the bikes in the back with gesture and enhance the trees or cut the trees down, but to change it for your own purposes. Okay, 8. What we learn from life. Now, this is a really good one. When I work from photographs, I want them to be fresh and lively. And so I go back and think, how do I work when I'm working out in the world, when I'm out on location? And part of what happens when you're working out in real time, it has to do with time. You have a time limit. You have a sense of urgency because you're out there drawing, you only have an hour, or the sun's coming out, or you're getting hungry, or the bugs are crawling up your pant leg, or whatever. Like you have a sense of urgency, and you have to draw in a different way, draw and paint. So this I did, out there looking at this scene, and so it's kind of a little more gutsy. When you work from photos, you tend to slow down. You feel like you have forever. And in a way, you kind of do. I mean, the photograph's not going anywhere. So you slow down and you tighten up and you start doing detail you don't want to do. And it just loses all its freshness and expediency. So that's a huge one for me, is time. So I have some strategies that I'm going to put in another video for how to work from photos well. And one of them is to set a time limit. Don't feel like you have all day to do it. And it'll make your work, I think, much fresher. Okay, 9 and 10, I'm going to throw in together. I just want to say, not to disparage photographs or photography, but there are a gazillion photographs. And the fact, if you're working from a photo, again, it's sort of a derivative of the photo, whereas a piece of art that is new or different, or an interpretation of life or photo or your imagination or whatever it may be, is way more special, way more special. So just consider that in terms of whether or not you want to copy the photo, because I mean, there's just a lot of them around, and they're not as special, I think, as our artistry, our suggesting, our interpretation. The last thing is, working from a photo, I think, limits your imagination. It limits your creativity. If you've already got it figured out and all you're doing is copying, maybe you're doing it masterfully, maybe you're doing it well, but you're just copying. And again, people will give you a lot of credit for it, but I say, think of the photograph as raw material, and then make it something even better. Make it better, make it different, change it, edit, take stuff out, put stuff in, have your way with it. Don't be a slave to the photo. So those are the 10 reasons you should never copy a photo. I am definitely going to do another video or a series with strategies for using a photo in a way that you're not a slave to it, but it's great raw material, using multiple photos, stacking photos, composites, working from black and whites. There's a lot of great strategies. So keep the creative juices flowing. And I'm so glad you're here, and I will see you again soon, I hope. All right, it's a wrap.